It's more than just open source. It's about connecting with people, it's about being part of the community, it's about sharing what you know and helping others.
KubeCon is the best place to get hooked into the community and learn from everybody.
And let me tell you people, this is just the beginning.
Hello, everyone. It's the wrap-up show. We're finishing out the week, final day. My name is Dan Papandrea. I'm the Director of Open Source Community and Ecosystem for SysTig, and I have David Mackay here from... Go ahead and introduce yourself, my man.
Hi, I'm David Mackay from Glasgow, Scotland. I am a developer advocate at Equinix Metal, and I am thrilled to be here on this wrap-up session, less so to be doing it with you.
I have a disclaimer for everyone. I'm containing all of my hatred for David Mackay today, just to be professional. All jokes aside, I love you, bud. All right, so today we have, I want to start off on a note here. We started off the week as well this way. If you look at the banner above David, you see covid.giveindia.org. Please, support India right now. Our global family is hurting, and take care of them. Please take a look and take care of that. My heart's out to everybody there. So today we have a jam-packed session. We can talk about this. We have a bunch of folks that are going to give their perspective. We have one of the most talked about sessions this week. We have two of the folks that are in here. I'm so excited to have them come in and talk about their session. We have our first guest. Our first guest is Katie Gamanji. She's one of the end user awesome people. She's just incredible. Welcome to the show, Katie Gamanji.
Hi, I was actually wondering if you're going to misspell my name as well. I was like, hello, everyone. Yeah, happy to be here.
Well, welcome. So, first off, look, this is not your first, show here. So, what are some of the immediate kind of thoughts this week that you had in terms of, the KubeCon in general?
To be honest, I am very excited that KubeCon actually happened. I think there is a long time running to KubeCon EU as well, and there is a lot of new things. The platform is new, the interaction with people is more grounded. So I think from that perspective, we did great. Another thing which I was thrilled about is to see the session quality. I think it jumped completely. We have a bunch of new technologies, we have a bunch of new themes and subcategories of new tooling coming around. So it's great to see some of the speakers deep dive into those. So from that perspective, I think it was top notch. So really excited. At the same time, I'm kind of sad that it's the wrap up session for the last day of the KubeCon, but I need to build up the excitement for KubeCon NA. So I think everyone is going to do the same.
Totally agree on the session kind of variety this year. And again, we got to give a shout out to the program committee, to our co-chairs, to our technical, the technical track leads and all of that. I think, again, it was superb. It was from start to finish. You had 101s, you had advanced, you had a lot of tech focus. I think it was fantastic. And props to the whole team. So, Kate, I'm going to ask you this week, you were involved in a ton of stuff. Can you tell us some of the things that you were directly involved with that you'd like to kind of give a shout out to? And then we could talk about some sessions that you liked as well.
Absolutely. Before I do that, I have to mention that currently I am the ecosystem advocate for CNCF, and I am leading the end user community. And this is actually quite an important factor because I've been focused more on interacting with end user organizations, as well looking into some of the talks that the end users have been given during KubeCon. So end users, especially the CNCF end users, just kind of a small intro, are all of the organizations that use cloud native technologies but do not sell them. So the vendor neutrality of this community is quite important. So some of the things that I've been involved throughout this week, again, is to reach out to them, watch the talks that they give, and kind of make sure that there's an undergoing theme for me to understand how can I better help them to either interact with the community or to reach to the project maintainers or anything to pretty much help them navigate the ecosystem. So I'm not sure if you want to talk about some of the things that caught my interest, but I'm happy to deep dive into that.
Completely excited for you to talk about that. One thing I will say to you, again, the end users are absolutely the life's blood of what we do. Every one of the projects that you see, what the CNCF does, all of those things are driven to help end users adopt, accept, and contribute to open source.
Precisely. So one thing that really stand out from the last KubeCon Europe last year in 2020 was the end-user driven open source. And this can be seen from different perspectives. We can see end users creating projects in-house and then donating them to CNCF. So we see these projects being born within the end-user companies. But at the same time, I think there is a second side to this end-user driven open source. I think that end users, by adopting and giving feedback, this is how they actually steer some of the roadmap and some of the features that needs to be built for tooling moving forward. So I think this is the theme which preserved throughout this KubeCon, and there is a big focus on end users, as Dan mentioned. So it has been great to actually give the top end user CNCF award, which was given to Spotify. And that award was voted by end users organizations only. So massive congrats to Spotify. They did a great job throughout many years. They've been in constant interaction with the community. They have backstage, which have been donated. They have multiple roles in the community, including the TOC. They have been track hosts and so forth. They've been doing a lot of work. So it's been great to see them getting this award, and I'm looking forward to see who's going to be the winner next year. As well, we've seen a great keynote from Peloton, which is our recent end user member, and it's been great to see how they leverage cloud native technologies to really emphasize the growth. Because Peloton, I think it's an organization that doesn't really resonate tech to you at the beginning, but once you look into what they do underneath and how they leverage cloud native to really push at the edge the way they deliver, the way they further empower their products, it's truly inspiring. So it's been great to have this end user keynotes throughout. And one of the things today, I've been watching some of the end user talks as well, and I've been astounded. Like, some of the use cases they talk about, it's not introductory. They really deep dive into some of the heavy stuff. So one talk that I can truly recommend is given by Apple and Intel, and it's about confidential computing to containers. So how can you truly and further secure your containers by using Kata containers and leverage the VMs in which you're going to run your containers? So pretty much the full segregation of your workloads as much as possible. So this kind of things, this kind of talks really amazes me, that this end user driven open source is really something that is at the core of our community now.
Fantastic. And lastly, Connor, one of the things you all did, you did a complete redesign of the content of the CNCF end user page. Talk to us about that. And I think we have a link to that as well, if we can flash that up for everyone.
Yes.
But yeah, Kate, if you want to talk about that.
Absolutely. So as part of my role is pretty much to lead the end user community, make it easier for them to navigate the ecosystem. So one of the things that I really wanted to make it easier for them is to understand what are the benefits of being part of the end user community. So from this point forward, and not only being transparent, but to actually highlight and celebrate the kind of the case studies and all of the cool stories and the usages of cloud native that the end users have. So as such, I've designed the end user hub, which is currently under the cncf.io/end user. And you will be able to see pretty much all the work that our end users do. We're going to have the case studies, some of the latest case studies. We're going to have all of our benefits. So you'll always be able to leverage some of your activities that you can do as an end user. But then we're going to curate the content for our end users as well. So in terms of the blog post, in terms of the videos. So when we're talking about videos, we're going to talk about the Technology Radars webinars. We're going to talk about the End User Lounge, which, by the way, is a new benefit that I've been launched for end users. So these are exclusive live streams for end users where we explore in depth how they use cloud native. It can start from the story of how they got to the journey. However, I would like to deep dive into some of the more let's put interesting technologies that they use. That they have a very specific use case, if they leverage a tool in a very particular way. So for example, the first guest that we had was CERN, and they have been talking about how they manage 600 clusters. But more importantly, they've talked about their future challenges of transitioning to high performance CPU compute to actually leverage their products even further. So this is kind of the use cases that I would like to highlight even more. So you're going to find all of these videos in the hub, all of your representatives, including Cheryl Hung, which is the VP of Ecosystem, myself, and all of the
Shout out to you,
TOCs.
Cheryl. Shout out to you, Cheryl. He's been in the shadows doing awesome stuff. Katie's like been doing so much stuff. I love you both, like in terms of like what you're doing for the end user. I'm sorry. Shout out to you, Cheryl. Awesome. Go ahead, Katie.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think she's been doing a great work, and her keynote, definitely to watch it. I think for the first time we've deep dive into how our end users again showcased how they use cloud native in a bit more detail. So her keynote definitely pinpointed that aspect. So you're going to find, again, all of this information end user related, you're going to be finding there. It's not only for end users, it's for everyone that want to find more about the end users. So if you have, because this has been launched 2 days ago, the new fresh website. If you have any feedback, please reach out to me. I'm more than happy to take any feedback into account and have a second version of the MVP. Why not?
Awesome. Well, Katie, we'd love any last questions you have, David, for Katie, or?
No questions, but maybe I'll reiterate a few things. I think it's really cool that we highlighted Spotify. I think the number of really deep technical talks coming out of their engineers has been fantastic over the last few years. And
props on Backstage. Awesome
Backstage
stuff.
is, yeah, gotta give props to Backstage. I see so many teams picking that up now just because it is bringing so much value to their organizations. So yeah, really cool that we kind of highlighted that as well. I haven't watched the confidential computing talk, but it's on my watch list, and I'm really looking forward to that session even more now that you've kind of give us a bit more info there too.
Well, the wonderful Katie, thank you so much for joining us for the wrap-up show.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. And again, go end users, and please reach out if you have any feedback in regards to the end user community. And looking forward to see everyone at the next KubeCon as well.
See you in KubeCon NA.
See you there.
See ya.
All right, so before we bring on our next guest, we got some questions from the audience. So what are some thoughts? Again, props to the events team here. Totally agree. Platform was fantastic this year. Got to give props to that. There's some shout outs from some localized community days for KubeCon Latin as well. There's, some shout outs there as well. But yeah, I think we should bring on our next guest here, and that's going to be Jason, my other nemesis. I'm just completely shocked by this. Jason D. Tiberius from Equinix Metal. How are you? Jason.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
There we go.
There he is. So Jason, look, you did a fantastic talk. I think your talk was at the same time as Raw Codes, as well as Lorenzo. Shout out to Lorenzo's talk as well. Talk to me let's just talk about the KubeCon in general this week. How's it been for you?
So I've really enjoyed it. I think one of the things that I miss from the in-person events is being able to interact with folks and seeing the effort that's put into trying to create an inclusive hallway track and trying to create those channels for people to talk to is refreshing compared to, some of the various other virtual events that are out there. So it's really energized me interacting with the community and being able to talk with folks and just share ideas.
Yeah, I think you need props as well. You devote so much time and energy to this community and the hallway track and on Twitter. It's just great to see you even though we're not in person, you're still there doing your thing. And I love seeing that. So
yeah, Jason, I mean, if you look at like the entry video, they got you and the beard and I, again, you have always been open and warm to everybody. Like, I remember having tacos with you in San Diego and just being like, but so in general, like, is there any sessions that you were like, wow, this is pretty awesome. Like, that you were a fan of that you had seen this week?
Yeah, so I mean, I think like everybody else, you had Tabby and Ellen's talk. That one was just incredible. Everybody's going to talk about that one. So outside of that, listening to Ian and Kat talk about communication breakdowns in the community and lessons that we've learned through there and how do we improve communication. And I think that's the thread that I take from most of this KubeCon is just the awesome community-oriented content, whether it's like that, talking about how do we improve communication within the community and, to the users, whether it's, Bob and Allison talking about how do we bring events into the virtual space and be more inclusive with people across time zones, across cultures. even across, personalities and how people like to communicate back and forth. That showing the thoughtfulness of folks, sharing that information and trying to find the right ways to communicate with people and build a better community. That's what the community is all about. So, it's really great.
So and you've been involved in this as well, Jason. And again, I've been involved in it as well as people keep on talking about the hallway track. And I look, it's so near and dear to our hearts. Is that right there is, I'll tell you a story. And I love this story. It was last year, somebody who was like, hey, how do I contribute to Kubernetes, or how do I contribute to a specific project? I remember you and 3 other people being like, here's how you do it. And you stepped this person through it. You stopped everything you were doing to do that. And that's right there. Exactly why I love this community right there, is being able to take somebody who has no idea and bringing them in. And then the next year, what happened? That person helped somebody else. It's the most incredible thing. So talk to me a little bit about your thoughts on just the hallway track. David, you as well.
Well, I think that's, why the community is such a success, because, there's only so much that a handful of people can do. So, as we grow bigger, as there's more problems to tackle, as there's more work to do, the more we can bring folks in, make them part of the community, empower them to solve the problems that they have, the better it is for everybody. So, it may take 5, 10, 15, 30 minutes out of my day to help somebody out, but the amount that we get as a community in return for that, outweighs any amount of time that I've just lost, having that conversation with somebody. So it's really not time lost. It's time invested in the future of our community.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Great way to look at it. I always think back to that movie from the 90s, Pay It Forward. I don't know if anyone's ever seen it, but I think like every little thing we can do for someone else has the power to exponentially just navigate through the whole community and help a whole bunch of other people. And I think that's so powerful.
I just remember I'm going to give a shout out to Narendran. He's one of the guys who's been in the hallway trek last year. He was one of the people that wanted to learn about this, and now he's absolutely contributing, and he's doing things. He's helping somebody else that's coming from all the students that have come in this year. We've seen a ton of students, so shout out to all the students that have joined this year. Really, props to that. So Jason, I want to ask you, like, any sessions that you want to call out that you were like, wow, really cool.
So I think, again, going back to just the community aspect of things, Bob and Allison tackling new challenges in a virtual focused community, it really brought, makes you think about how do we sit there and include more people, because it's very easy to think about the ways that we've already done things and the ways that we've done things in the past and trying to continue those things. But if we can, continually reassess and figure out how we can do things better, then we can include more people, grow the community more, and all of that. Seth gave a great talk about why use managed Kubernetes. There's, an aspect of some people that you don't have enough geek cred unless you're rolling your own Kubernetes the hard way type of thing. But talking about, it's about solving the problems. And if your problem doesn't involve managing, a Kubernetes-based platform, then it's okay to use a managed Kubernetes stack and build your work on top of that. That's exactly what, this project and this community is trying to enable. So, oh man, there's just so much. Ellen and Tabitha, they're hacking Kubernetes security.
Well, before we get to them, because we're going to have them on, but we have a special guest. We have somebody else who's going to join us right here. We have Ava. Ava, you want to come in? Because you had some sessions
Sure.
as well. So talk to us, in terms of your involvement this year as well. And Jason, please stay on the panel. Let's have everybody, here, right? Let's talk about some of the things that you as well, Ava, that you liked, that's, echoing what Jason's talking about as well.
Some of the same things I think that Jason was just saying. Tabitha's panel with Ellen or not panel, discussion, walkthrough and some incredible storytelling. So rare to see that and so engaging. Such a good way to bring new people into the community to just watch a story unfold that's really educational. And the nerd that I am, I really appreciated the shout outs to 3, not just 1, but 3 awesome CVEs. Abstract Shimmer probably is one of my favorites. That was just kind of snuck in there at the end.
So you know what? I was gonna hold on, but you know what? Let's just bring Elle and Tabby in. Look, I'm trying to milk everybody coming into this whole thing, right? You got to stay for the whole thing here. All right, so let's bring in our absolutely special guests. Elle,
Tabby will be a few minutes, but
okay,
we've got Ellen just now. Yeah.
All right. So listen. Let's behind the scenes. Let's talk a little bit about this, right? So, you're putting this all together, and there's the shot where there's the office and the people on the Zoom, and you're like, hey, you all, can you help come and join us, right? And I'm on my way to the gym, right? I'm like really hackered up because I had my hoodie over and stuff like that, and I just remember there was this take. Okay, there's the final take is awesome, but the initial take was Elle was so timid, and then I was like, Elle. We were like, Elle, you got to get more hostile. You got to get more hostile, right? And she got hostile on in the thing, and I'm just looking at it, and I'm like, I was scared. I was like, oh, she really nailed it. Jason, you remember that? So it was just a phenomenal. So talk to us about this was honestly everybody's talking about this session. Talk to us about your thought processes behind putting this together. And obviously, when Tabby comes, we can ask the same question.
Yeah, I think for me it was more about so I used to do mostly in-person talks, and then I got really into how to do the best talk and how to engage the audience and all of that, and really nerding out on that. And then the current events came along, and now there's no
Welcome,
more.
Tabby.
Hey, Tabby. And suddenly there's no more in-person talks, and I struggled a lot in the beginning of this thing to learn how to make talks engaging in a virtual format. And I don't know, I think I tried enough things and watched enough YouTube videos and how-tos to figure out that the way to really keep people engaging is with story. And then we tried really hard to not just present concepts, but have a story, have a character, having someone on the screen that you have an emotion about. So either you're rooting for this character or you hate this character, and to have that kind of stuff. And I think me and Tabby managed to play complementary roles really well.
Two bad examples. You don't want to be either one of us.
Yeah.
Tabby, I'm gonna ask the
for
same
different
question.
reasons.
I'm gonna ask the same question of you. What was the impetus? You're putting this together. Tell us the beginnings of this. You were like, okay, I want to do something a little different. So tell us about this.
Yeah, we had been talking about co-presenting at this KubeCon, and as we were talking about that, we realized, Kubernetes security is complex because it's the union of Linux security and network security and usually cloud provider security. And then also Kubernetes has got its own additional, layer of complication there, especially around RBAC and, tying your shoes together with RBAC and things like that. And it was I haven't seen somebody do this in the 101 track. Between the two of us, do we think that we can provide something that'll be really fun and engaging and have technical depth and be accessible in the 101 track, to get rid of this idea that just because it's complicated, it's only for experts. And yeah, I was let's do it. And so, yeah, as we were talking about how to do it, it was can we do this as a slideshow? And it was I guess, but what if instead we could really take advantage of the fact that this has got to be pre-recorded anyway? And so, the idea just kind of evolved from there. There was a dare. Can we avoid breaking the fourth wall for the entire time? And once that dare was out there, it was yes, this is how it's got to be. And just it was so much fun.
That look at the very end, Ellen, that last second, that was the moment. You broke the wall for a split second, and
And if you know Elle, like the comedy that you're just such a funny person, like that just got me. But the one thing I was saying, like I was watching it, and again, when you got like angsty, Elle, and then like Tabby's face, I felt genuinely sorry for her. Like, Tabby, I'm like, what's going on? Why are you doing that to my poor Tabby? I was like, why? So excellent, just excellent. I love this whole thing. Let me ask this question in terms of the reaction thus far, like into the last, like, it's been phenomenal. Like, how are you taking that? Let's talk about that.
Attention's always fun. It's a bit overwhelming, to be honest, but it's a lot of fun. It's all good. I'm slightly concerned once the talk is public, like on open YouTube, that there's always people who hate everything, and I'm sure we'll have some of those. But I think it comes with the territory. So I'm excited for next week when like a lot more people are going to be able to watch it.
I'm also really excited about that. Like, I was hoping that we could teach some things, and like, I was really proud of the fact that there's something for everybody in this talk. Like, we tried so hard to make it accessible. I mean, we put it in the 101 track, and we really tried to make it accessible, like for people who were super beginners, but like also, I believe this is the first public demonstration of that containerd exploit against Kubernetes and containerd. Like, the proof of concept works out of the box against Docker, and like, I'm not going to publish that code. One, because it's terrible quality, but like, two, it's an exercise for the reader. Like, so I was proud of the fact that there's a lot of hidden technical depth there. So like, it's not boring if you are an expert. But we tried to do all those things, but you never know how something's going to go. You put all of the love that you can into something and hope for the best. And goodness, it's just wonderful to have like made so many people's day. Like, we love you all so much. Thank you.
So to everyone else here, I kind of need your help with something. I'm trying to talk Tabby into doing this again.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get any complaints from us. I think we all want a sequel now. Like, that just has to happen. It has to. Like, there are so many complex things that I think you can bring your storytelling and narrative to. I'd love to see more.
So
that's the question.
Hey,
actually,
Tabby,
somebody. Sorry, go ahead.
Do you have any plans, Tabby, until the CFP closes?
I mean, I was kind of thinking. So, I mean, like, let's talk about LA. Who knows what's going to happen with LA? I think it's too early to tell, but I've got my fingers crossed that it will be safe and reasonable for at least some people to be in LA. And I don't know, I think it'd be pretty great to, like, be on stage, like behind the lectern with the laptop and like all ready to PowerPoint somebody to death, get introduced, and then just like turn and just like walk down the stairs.
Save it for the show, Tabby. Come on, don't give too much.
I don't know, it'd be fun.
This is showbiz, baby. Don't give it away.
I can see like a recurring theme with different attacks each time, building the story of your relationship as coworkers evolving, and that, I don't know. It's a great bit.
I think for the next one, we need to step our game up, and we need like a global conspiracy. We need time travel. We need, a whole thriller.
I am here for time travel, especially. Oh my gosh.
So I think the biggest challenge is going to be, how do you, create a sequel to that? Because there was so much depth, so many layers to it, from, approachable content to that deep content for the experienced folks, but also all of the Easter eggs that you dropped in there from, different aspects of the community that folks can see and recognize and things like that. I mean, you basically just created something that is almost going to be impossible for you to top again.
Clearly.
Challenge accepted.
Introduce time travel, cloning, teleportation. That's how they step it up, apparently.
I mean, those are all like cloud native technologies, right?
Absolutely.
Like, you got storage, cloning, Linux has time namespaces now. Like,
we're gonna need a budget is what we're gonna need. All right, so we'll talk about. We'll get some special effects. We'll do some stuff. That's all good. So I'm gonna shift gears a little bit and kind of go around the horn. We kind of started with Jason. We didn't really finish it out, so sorry. We've just been all over the place. But Jason, like, you mentioned a couple of sessions that you like, but any kind of stand. I'm gonna go to Tabby next. In terms of any sessions you thought that were incredible beyond your own. Like, I'll give you props for your own, but like, what are some sessions that you were like, wow, these are just really cool?
So I think sorry.
Go ahead, Jason. Yeah.
So I think another one was like the Ghost in the Runtime one. I think we put together a really great operations track this time, and everybody seemed to be really excited about the Datadog folks sharing their experiences with issues that they hit and that sort of thing. So those end user, kind of experiences, it resonates with people.
How about you, Tab?
I'm going to do that thing where first I say what I want to say, which is, oh my gosh, the fact that there was so many great community-focused talks and also so many great, deep technical talks at the same event. I was super happy about that. Yeah, like I wanna give ups to my teammates, Eric and Laurent. That was a great that was a great series of whodunits, and it has been super fun over the previous time. Helping them out with some of the details of those things. Other technical talks that I really enjoyed. Lorenzo's talk was great.
Hold on, let me flash a Falco logo real quick. Oh, okay, there we
go. Getting into like the basics of what rootkits look like, and what kinds of bad things people can do once they have root on nodes. The talk that Thomas gave about bad ways to shoot yourself in the foot with Kubernetes networking was also super fun.
Can we talk about that just in terms of the proliferation of eBPF? And I've been in the world of eBPF for years, right? With my role at Sysdig, but like in general, I'm loving this because we all know the benefit and the amazing power of eBPF. I mean, you think about like Liz moving over to Isovalent, that there's that capability, and stay tuned for that because I think we're thinking about doing an eBPF co-located day. So oops for LA. I'm sorry, but well, that would be pretty amazing. But I'm sorry to cut you off, but Thomas's talk was fantastic. I totally agree. And, and Lorenzo's as well. It's just all about tapping into those things. Like there was a co-located day on Rust and Wasm. You know what I mean? Like these are the things where it's like this. If you're a painter and you have, as we all are, we're creators, right? If we have the ability to have these new paints and we're shown how to use these paints, there's a bunch of Picassos and Michelangelos, and there's a bunch of amazing Dalis out there that'll create amazing compositions. That's what we need to do, is share these technologies in the way that experts do. So it's phenomenal. So Tabby, sorry to cut you off there.
No, you amplifying. I dig it. Community talks. Everybody keeps talking about Ian and Kat's talk about communication, but oh my gosh, yes, I was involved in some of those things, and I was just glued to the screen nonetheless. It was such a powerful story, very personal stories there, and also Celeste's talk, just walking you through step by step, doing great docs. I am going to be pointing people at that one over and over for years.
Can we talk about I'm going to talk about this. Docs are so underappreciated. I'm so adamant about it. And the fact that here's the and this is why I love Celeste in general, is because she takes docs to the next level. I mean, she took it to the hero's journey. Phenomenal. But also part of this is, you think about it, anybody who's coming in, anybody that was in the hallway track we talked to was what's the first thing we said? Take a look at the docs to learn the projects that are out there. Take a look at maybe doing a translation as a way to come in. That all starts in docs. I believe that docs are the most underappreciated parts of every single project. But if you get those right, they help with adoption. They help with contribution. Incredible. So again, Tab, sorry to cut you off.
I really love docs also as an entry point, because a lot of times people think of docs as non-technical, and there are good, important ways that you can contribute to docs without bringing any technical to it. But docs has the entire gamut from I'm not worried about technical at all to like absolutely the most technical work you can imagine. They're within docs. And so like I super love docs for that accessibility aspect and like the way that somebody who wants to not only become involved in community and contribute to something, but who wants to grow their technical depth can grow their technical depth by helping with docs, by working on docs. Like you don't have to be deeply technical to get started, but whatever level of technical you have, you can apply it meaningfully to docs.
Excellent. I'm gonna pass it over to Elle as well. I'm gonna ask like what your favorite sessions, and also if you can address the amazing Brazilian brigade that's out there. Maybe you could say it in Portuguese. Obrigado. Let's just address our Brazilian fans out there.
Então, eu tô vendo que a galera veio em peso aqui, né? Tá louco, meu Deus, eu não esperava. Surpresa enorme. Obrigado, pessoal. Okay, how do I speak English now? Yeah, so I was really surprised, very positively surprised, because I have a lot of content about Go in Portuguese on YouTube, and people talk a lot about it, etc. And that is like, okay, I'm already familiar with the audience, but I did not expect that to leak into the Kubernetes community so strongly. So I'm very positively surprised, and thanks so much for all the comments. I think I'm gonna have to record some content in Portuguese very soon, else they're gonna, be on my case.
No doubt. Hey, Eva, I wanted to ask you just in general, like what was, in terms of either co-located days or just days sessions in general, what are some of your highlights this week?
I also spoke at the Cloud Native Security Day, which was just full of amazing content. So much goodness there about software supply chain security and other techniques to protect yourself against threats. I was talking about confidential computing. And then today, one of the last sessions, I guess early in the day sessions, was about kata containers as a technique to add confidential computing at the VM hypervisor layer.
Really like that one.
Like this, it's close to my heart. I think this is where we're heading as an industry around protecting privacy, needing to really better understand security end to end. And supply chain is a big part of that. eBPF and observability is a big part of that. And hardware-based security like confidential computing is a big part of that too.
I think we talked about that on the wrap-up show on Monday, but like I think the Swiss cheese aspect of it, you know what I mean, to be able to layer and at the hardware level, even at the runtime and forensics capability level, like I think those are the things that you need. And Eva, I was on the program committee for tag security now. Excuse me, tag security.
Tag security,
and,
right.
And again, I said this before, but like in terms of your talk, I was like, I love what you're all doing with the 3Cs, the consortium, and I love that. So if you can give it, maybe a shout out or put a link in terms of for people to join there, would be fantastic.
I'll drop a link in chat, and here's the shout out. We're actually about to host our very first community dev summit in 1 month and 4 days. So I'll drop a link to that too. If you're involved in the space or an open source developer, if you want to try and bring some of the confidential computing techniques like attestation or signing into CNCF projects like Spiffy or in Toto, we'd love to have your help. And sort of I jumped into the tech side of things because other folks have already talked about all the awesome community content we had. But just to all of that too.
I want to pass it over to David. David, I mean, is there any questions you have of the panel? Also in general, like what sessions that you enjoyed as well? Because I haven't kept up with you because we're mortal enemies and also.
Yeah, definitely. There's just been so much. I've been struggling to keep up. My watch later list is definitely growing. I could reiterate all the talks that we've kind of covered already. They were just all fantastic. There's so much good content out there. And again, the split between community and deep dive technical was great. I think there's a slight irony, and we do have Jason on the call, so I'm going to pivot from security to bad idea and let's talk about that a little bit. Because I think something interesting happened at this conference is that we had two really similar concepts both come out from different people, and I'm curious about why we're moving in this direction. So Jason, can you give us the quick elevator pitch for Bad Idea, and then we can maybe dive into it a little bit more from there?
Yeah, so basically the idea is, can we take advantage of some of the things that Kubernetes empowers us to do, especially around like the rapid application development that you get with CRDs. You don't have to worry about how am I going to store this data somewhere. You don't have to worry about how do I expose my API. All you have to worry about is what do I want the input and output to look like, and how do I actuate that. So what if we could take that and deliver it without actually taking a hard dependency on Kubernetes? Just take the bits of the API machinery that exists in Kubernetes, just enough to support those CRD use cases, and just use it in a standalone binary. And it's sort of something that's been talked about since going back at least as far as 2018. I mean, Tim Hawkin gave the talk about a CRD-based future where most of the core Kubernetes types wouldn't even be built-in types. They could be implemented as CRDs, and just trying to run with it. I mean, people have been talking about this. Why isn't there something out there that's already doing this? So I started playing around in the space. At the same time, other folks were playing around similarly within their own projects. I know the folks over at Tilt are playing around doing something similar there. The folks at Crossplane are trying to play around with it as well. And
can we talk about that? I want to interrupt that because it's very simple. So I think, again, if you think about what people are doing, they're trying to abstract Kubernetes to make it even easier for you to do a certain thing, right? Whatever that thing may be. So if you see projects like K3S, they've gained a ton of traction, right? Because it's kind of just bringing it to its simplest form. Now you're bringing it to an even more simple form in that. And that's why I thought, like, when, and I'm a contributor with you on that idea, right? So I think the concept of this, and you mentioned Crossplane. Think about this: to be able to do this, deployment, configuration management, that kind of thing using Crossplane, but not having to deploy a tools cluster to be able to do that manipulation, to me is incredible. And then from a security implication perspective, if I'm looking to test out how these APIs are interacting and all that, why do I have to spin up a full cluster when I could just do this? Like, the components in our perfect world that, Tabby is awesome and doing all the greatest things we're doing to secure Kubernetes, those will be there. But what are the things that we're trying to secure from the API perspective? Having just a slight mechanism, because the entryway to Kubernetes in terms of a deployment, it's a hard thing unless you're using it's hard to deploy a cluster to be able to test your certain things. If I'm a security engineer and I'm trying to test, how do I talk to these APIs from a secure perspective? It's freaking hard. If I have to understand that world as well. So if we can give it an easier way for them to interact, as you're doing with Bad Idea, as Clayton and the team at Red Hat are doing, to me, it's awesome. It's a fantastic way.
Yeah, and I did want to give a call out to the KCP project that Clayton and the Red Hat folks are working on. Everything in this space is, how do we further this? How do we more empower the users? And I know they're looking at it from a security perspective. How can we enable some multi-cluster and multi-tenancy type features with it? It's just, the example, we start out with the small idea to try to solve our own use cases. And as we collaborate as a community, the ideas keep growing and growing. And I don't consider it my idea. It's just building on the ideas of other folks. And I expect other folks to continue building on it. And let's see where we can take this. It's going to be fun.
I find it very interesting that when we're talking about Bad Idea and related concepts, that Pop, when you talk about it, you come at it from a security standpoint, from like something running in the cluster and you need to worry about security because lots of people can access it. And we're using the same concept with Tilt to do some things, and it's a tool that runs locally on your computer. It doesn't talk to anyone outside. So the threat model is completely different, if non-existent. And then basically the advantages and disadvantages of the concept are completely different. So it's very interesting to hear you talk about the same concept from a completely different prism. So maybe
that's the beauty of the community deal. Or yeah. if I'm in this silo and I'm thinking about this in my little myopic view, and then I have Jason's view, and then I have your view, and I have Tabby's view, and I have Ava's view. I have all of us together is what makes this community so great. I don't care that adage about same family, different company, or excuse me, what is it? I'm sorry, what's the analogy? I want somebody else to take that from me.
Different companies, one team.
Always one team, right? I'm gonna go even further. I'm gonna say one family, right? So it's just how we operate is we want to make sure everyone's there. So I totally agree with you, without a doubt.
I think you just said diversity is one of our core strengths.
1000%. See? Well, I have a Brooklyn education. I can't say as eloquent as you, so it's all good.
All of the different viewpoints we bring just make this better.
Hey, Pop, I have a technical question for you since you mentioned your educational background. So there were all those discussions about pizza and, culinary regulations. So I'm wondering, when you have a cheese wheel...
Hello, is this working?
No, seriously, it's a legit question. When you have a cheese wheel and, you eat the cheese, and then at the end, at the outer edge of the cheese wheel, there's like that thick border. Can you eat that or not?
This is a very, very good question. So my grandma used to put it in the sauce to help like kind of thicken the sauce and stuff like that. My nonna, okay? And that's, I don't know if some people use it, some people don't. You're talking about the rind, the cheese rind, right?
I don't know what it's called. I don't speak English, man. It's the outer hard.
Yeah, in English we call it the rind, right?
Yeah, I would.
No doubt. So which brings us to the segment of our show where we talk about food, our favorite part of the show. No, I'm just kidding. So,
well, I actually asked Twitter before we went live a whole bunch of questions about their week and KubeCon, and I snuck in a sneaky question: is like, what should we have Dan eat next? And do you know what the first response was? It was just a real pizza.
That's good. That's good. I like.
I'm still waiting on the haggis.
Oh, the haggis is coming. We'll make that happen.
Well,
oh my gosh, let's all have haggis together.
Well, if you follow the Popcast Pop, if we get to 10,000 subscribers, I'll eat whatever you want. Shameless plug. All right. Alrighty. So I'm going to go around the horn and talk about, look, what's next for you all in terms of, are we going to submit some talks for some CFPs for North America? Let's go around the horn. Jason, you want to go first?
Oh, I don't know yet. I was trying to get through this conference before I even get through the CFP for North America. I'm taking next week off to get my
shout out
back
for
together.
Can we talk about that? Wait,
big shout out for the rescheduling of the CFP date. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Very, very cool. But let's talk about that in general, the whole mental health thing. Take next week off in terms, I know, for work, it's really hard for me to say that, but just in terms of mental capacity, try to go at 50% or less. It's just, I know it's tough because this is what we do. Like, we're not like athletes where we're doing that. Our brains are taxed. We're getting hit from so many different angles and all of that. You really need that mental kind of break, you all. So please take all this, digest all the awesome stuff that you all are seeing, and, take it as a time to be like, wow, I can maybe use this in my day to day. So I'm going to go to Tabby. What's up for you next? What's next for you?
I mean, really, I'm going to chill out over the weekend and then see what it looks like next week. But I am pretty excited about the LACFP.
Elle?
I think the next CFP, yes. Of course, I'm going to spam it. But I'm really excited by the turnout of this talk. Was like, there is this demand for a certain kind of content, and I'm very excited to just create random things around that area and see what happens. So CFP aside, big talks aside, just small things. So I'm very, very interested in creating more of that type of content and seeing what the community makes of that.
Ava?
First up is getting brunch with a couple Kube folks that are here in Seattle, and we're all vaccinated. So we're just a couple people getting together. That's right after this. It starts my decompression weekend, where I'm going to just start painting my house and trying to take it easy next week because I've got RSA conference the week after that. No breaks. And
you got this.
Thanks. Already planning a couple talks at LA, and of course the Confidential Computing Dev Summit coming up in June. So pretty busy summer schedule.
I would love to do one with you. and from hardware to let's do the Swiss cheese. Right here. You heard it first. Ava, you want to do it? Let's do it.
Absolutely.
So we'll submit a CFP. Awesome.
Okay.
I'm excited. All right. David, over to you, bud. What is some of what are you going to do right now at this point? Besides clustered, by the way, right at today, right?
Well, yeah, I think I need to speak to Ellen and Tabby after this and see if we can get a clustered going together. But I think for LA, I'm intentionally not going to submit. I don't want to have the nerves and anxiety of speaking there when it's the first time I'm going to be catching up with so many people. I think I'd rather relax in LA. So I'll probably take it easy unless a live clustered gets accepted, in which case I would do that because I don't really need to rehearse anything.
For the folks who aren't, can you kind of tell everybody what you can do? And by the way, if you all haven't seen the episode with Thomas Stromberg from, Minikube, and now he's an Equinix Metal, this is the greatest debugger of Kubernetes I have ever seen in my life. It literally was the most incredible thing. I literally, my jaw dropped. So maybe David could put a link in there. Can you talk about the show in general, what it is?
Yeah, so the concept behind clustered is I thought it would be good to produce materials that help people learn how to administrate and fix Kubernetes. And I would give loads of clusters to people in the community. They would go and break them in weird and mysterious ways. And then I and a guest would attempt to, we'd try and fix them. But what happened this week was we had a special yesterday with Chris Nova and Thomas Stromberg. And right off the bat, Thomas just said, I'm going to take an image of this disk and see what's changed in the last 48 hours, and just owned the entire time. I mean, Chris Nova is super knowledgeable and put rootkits on this machine and fake API servers, really went to town on it.
Nova even named, the pod deployments in such a way that it was like Nova has, bonked this. It was pretty incredible.
It was impressive.
Shout out Nova.
Watching just two master chess players go for it, and the way Thomas just attacked it with the image, looking at what changed, breaking it all down. There's just so much value in how to debug and even forensic analysis of a disk in that episode. It's definitely worth checking out.
I was like Sleuth Kit. I haven't seen that since 2002. I was like, it was pretty amazing. So it was definitely cool. So any parting words, y'all? I'm going to go around the horn. Any parting words for, folks that are just getting in? I think we have a special guest. It's Priyanka.
Hello, everybody.
You never know what's going to happen on the wrap-up show, you all. Never know.
Oh, so nice to be here. I feel so cool.
You've always been cool. So listen, Priyanka,
yes.
Give us your thoughts of, by the way, can we all just, Priyanka and the events team and everybody else, can we give a nice golf clap? You're up, Priyanka. Tell us about it. What are you in awe of this week?
What am I in awe of? Well, everybody in the community, all of y'all, this actually has been my, you won't believe it, but favorite KubeCon to date. And I just am so impressed by how so many folks came together. And seriously, the students really showed up, by the way. They're all over the event and they're talking to everyone, learning from the more experienced folks here. And just that energy has been awesome. So I am so grateful to you all for making this show, frankly, my best yet.
Fantastic. By the way, can I sidebar a little shout out to Bill Mulligan? Bill, heart, you've done so much for so many people.
Totally.
Fantastic. So, and also shout out to the events team again. But Priyanka, Is there any, look, I know it's like mom can't have a favorite child, we don't have favorite children, but what was some of your favorite sessions that you were like, people walking up to you and saying, wow, these are some really cool sessions?
Yes. So I personally am a little part to the Peloton session. I was involved in making it happen, and I was so grateful. We got it over the line, and I thought the story was so inspiring and awesome. Because here's the thing, Peloton is an example. There are so many companies out there who have gone through a similar journey, and it just shows how critical cloud native is to all kinds of human experiences that are coming for us through technology. So that one I'm partial to. I heard really good stuff about the home automation session that was using Raspberry Pi's K3S. I think Eddie Zeneski, who's an AWS developer relations person, gave that talk. It was a day two talk. So that one people are really excited about, including my fiance, by the way, who is in the world of physical goods, like, smart standing desks and smart devices and stuff. And so he was super into that one. So those were two. And then, of course, I love my AMA happy hours because I just get to hang out with people. So those are some highlights.
So speaking of hanging out with everybody, right directly after this session, if you all go to the Mix and Mingle hallway track, there's going to be a hallway track Zoom. You never know who's going to show up, but guess who's going to be there? Our GM Priyanka Sharma is going to be involved, and so that's going to be awesome. So listen, before I go around the horn, I also want to give a shout out to our co-chair and our two co-chairs, which is for the Cloud Native TV, which we've been working for in stealth with the support of the CNCF for the last 3 months. And we're so happy to have unveiled that for everybody. We're going to be launching next month, and you're going to see some incredible content. But shout out to to Priyanka for just supporting us, and Bill and all the CNCF. But our co-chairs for this are going to be Kat Cosgrove and Mr. David Mackay. I pronounced it right for the first time. So shout out to them for this, but stay tuned. Again, it's phenomenal what we're doing. I'm so excited. I'm so touched to be able to bring some amazing content with some of the best in Cloud Native for you all. So let's go around the horn and say, give our goodbyes and shout outs. So maybe we'll start with, we'll end with Priyanka. So go ahead with David.
I just want to thank everyone at the CNCF and all the speakers for all the incredible talks this year, everyone that participated in the hallway track, and everyone chatting on Twitter. You're all amazing people, and it's a pleasure to be a part of this community. Thanks.
Jason?
I think my shout out will go just to the whole community. Seeing everybody come together, reach out, ask questions, and just talk about things has been the highlight for me for this KubeCon.
Tabby?
I want to say thank you, like personally, whoever you are, because this is why we're all here. This has been so much fun for me personally, but like because of you, like because we can do things together. So thank you.
Elle?
Yes.
I won't make you speak Brazilian, I promise.
So everyone's asking me to bring up to the CNCF that we need KubeCon Latin America now. So we need to have some conversation about that. Other than that, yeah, I'm very happy. It's a great opportunity to get together with friends and family. Like Pop was saying, like it's not just people who work in the same projects. It's really a family. It's really happy. It's really nice to work with everyone and to just interact and like even just coexist with everyone in the same space. It's such a healthy community. And yeah, very, very happy to have all this. I don't know. I think it was a very lonely year because of the circumstances, but events like this make us feel like we have a big family again.
All right, Ava.
I want to thank everyone that works to make the community so amazing. Everyone from the LF and CNCF staff to my peers on the Code of Conduct Committee and Steering Committee, all the moderators that work on GitHub and Slack and everywhere else, and all the way down to all of you, the attendees, everyone participating in this, just making the community so welcoming, so inclusive, one that I'm so happy to be a part of, really. Thank you all.
And to our amazing GM, Priyanka.
I am so proud of everyone in Team Cloud Native. Y'all made this show amazing, whether you were attendees, whether you were running awesome Twitch streams, whether you were the events team. Everyone really came together, and that is who we are. That's our ethos. So big thank you to everyone for being yourself, being you, bringing your skill set, your passion to this community and sharing it. It's been beautiful. I would also like to say that extra love vibes going to all the regions in the world that are particularly suffering right now. I am from India, so I'm very close to what's happening over there. My family still lives there. I've heard stories from Brazil. I've heard stories actually from Canada, Germany, everywhere, right? And we're all in very different places, places in terms of how we're dealing with the pandemic, depending on where we are. And so I just want anyone out there who's having a hard time to know that you have friends in this community. You may not be able to get out of the house, but if you want to talk to anyone, just start your Zoom and tweet out. Someone will be there to hang out with you. I'll do it. And I'm sure others will do it too. So you have friends, you're supported. If you need anything, just holler. We love you all.
And with that, David and I and the rest of this amazing panel, we wish you the best. Go forward, help each other, and enjoy everything that Qt Cloud Native has